Today, I got my guest, Lala Triplett, who is going to help us walk through how to discover our inner badass, our inner powerhouse. Welcome, Lala.
Hi.
Thanks for joining today. I'd love to really start with you telling the good folks a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. I am Lala Triplett. I am a vet in the fashion industry. So, over a decade of experience working for top fashion brands from Neiman Marcus, Intermex, Halston Heritage. And I left a few years ago to pursue entrepreneurship. And so, my whole brand and business now is really focused on helping ambitious women rise to their potential, unleash their powerhouse, step into their main character energy, and really just transform themselves to create the life and business that they want.
I love it. I love it. It's a very noble endeavor, and I've known you for a while, and that has really been your core. So it's cool to see you do what you do. Let's start with a little Mythbuster game here. What do you think are some Mythbusters that are out there when people think about discovering their inner powerhouse?
Sure. I think a lot of people think powerhouse means you just have confidence or you just have it, right? But what I think people fail to realize is that confidence is a skill that can be developed, and it comes with taking action, right? So I think a lot of times, when we're thinking about, oh, she's so ambitious, she's so fierce, or he's so ambitious, and they're powerhouses, I can never be that. What people fail to realize is that you also can tap into your inner powerhouse and build that skill of confidence to really show up as your best self. So it's a learnable skill. It is a feeling as well, but it's something that you just work on. So that is definitely a myth I've come
So
across.
if there was two or three things, because I like this idea that confidence is a skill. I've never heard it phrased that way. If there were two or three things that someone can do to work on that skill, what would those things be?
Sure, sure. So I think it also boils down to what exactly you want to focus on, right? So, for example, if someone is afraid of networking, I know I've worked with clients in the past where they've been nervous to just go out and network and socialize because they don't know how to approach people, right? They get the nervous feeling before entering a room. So, to me, it's like you have to first have some affirmations that you tell yourself to really pep yourself up, right? That self positive talk, right? Those affirmations to really ease those nerves, right? Like, I am amazing. I am a badass. I am this. I am that, whatever that looks like for you. So, in a situation of a client or someone, going to a social networking event, it's really having that pep talk to build that confidence in order to just really go in and own the room. So
Mhm.
that's one part of it. But I think, again, it depends upon what it is. If it's public speaking, what about just taking time and practicing at home or practicing with someone and really building that skill up? So the more you get into practice, the more you get into action, the more comfortable you become. And the more comfortable you become, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more there's a term for it, but you're capable, right? So it's just kind of like a trifecta. So depending upon what it is, it's just about practicing whatever it is.
That's interesting. So your recommendation is that a person really assess an area or two or three in their life that they say, I'd like to become a little more confident in this area, and really, really hone in on that and own that that's an area that they want to become more confident, and then to practice the skill, which is great. And then over the course of practicing, they'll just naturally become more and more confident.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's this thing of, in the process of doing something, when we're not confident, that comes with, judgment. It comes with self criticism. It comes with, us judging ourselves. It's us being afraid of what other people may think, right? So it's kind of like regulating your nervous system in a way too, which we won't get into that, that at all, but it's that nervousness within our body, right? And it triggers something within us. So when you get into practice of whatever it is that you're doing, then it's like, okay, I feel like I'm getting over, those barriers, those things that were holding me back, right? So
Yeah, well, I think it's a good point. I mean, we can touch upon it just a little bit, the nerves and the physical state, because Yeah, how much would you say managing your physical state, not your emotional state, your physical state, how much would you say that plays into you discovering and owning your courage, your confidence, your powerhouseness, if we can use that as a word? How much does owning your physical state play into that?
So when we say physical state, does it mean just your embodiment, your way of being, or are we going into your
Well,
style
so
physically?
you were touching upon, like, nerves and,
Yeah,
like, that because we often talk about the emotional side, the mindset, right? The getting yourself in the right headspace and, telling yourself the right things, self-talk, all this is yes, I'm with you on that. But what about eating right, getting enough sleep, the actual physical component?
oh, absolutely. 100%. I think habits definitely play a role in this for sure. So, whatever that look like, however you want to structure your day, whether that means getting up earlier or, going to bed earlier. Journaling is a physical thing, right? To get thought onto paper. Sleep is so important. I believe in rest for sure. I don't believe in, you'll get sleep when you're done. I don't believe in that. I believe you definitely need to rest and get your sleep. That just helps you to recharge for sure. So physically, those are things I definitely agree with. Um,
So you're, a stylish individual. What about how you present yourself to the world? How much does that have? Because, we, as much as we talked about the emotional side and self-talk and mindset, which is a whole category into itself, we talk about the category of taking care of the physical being, your sleep and your rest and your eating right and that. And then
Absolutely.
the category of how we adorn ourselves, how we dress, how we present ourselves to the world, which is a whole
Sure.
different category. And sometimes some people I feel like they just choose one and then they deny the others. But let's talk a little bit about things that people can do to feel more confident in just the way they dress.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we touch on dress, I do want to add on to the physical part as far as grooming and upkeep. That's a part of the physical too. So, self care, whether that's facials, mani pedis, massages, skincare routine, um, vitamins, all these things are going to play into that physical part of unleashing your powerhouse, right? But as far as dress goes and how that plays into unlocking and discovering your powerhouse and confidence, it's really about who are you and how do you want to show up? How do you want people to perceive you, but also how do you feel about yourself? So there's this intersection between self image, how do you perceive yourself and how do you feel, but also what do you want to project onto others? How do you want other people to see you, right? So someone could be like, listen, I'm a very casual person. My lifestyle is very casual. That's how I want to dress, right? And that's totally cool, right? But then there could be someone that is like, my lifestyle is casual, but I want to dress like a business person, right? I want to wear the business suits or the business blazers with a sharp pair of jeans. That's fine too. So it's about number one, your self image. How do you see yourself? How do you feel about yourself, right? Because it's also an identity thing, but also how do you want other people to perceive you? And what areas are you focused on, right? Is it business? Is it lifestyle? Is it, you know, certain communities or organizations? All these things play a role in how you're going to dress and show up. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Is there a sequence of events that occur or because when I hear this, I figure all of this stuff needs to happen, right? To really kind of get in the right space. But do you start with the physical and then go into the emotional and then go into the style and like where do you typically start?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's so important to start with the vision.
Mm,
Who is this next level self? Who are you? That is the foundation, right? We can't jump into anything else without understanding where are you right now? Where are you going? Once we get a clear understanding of that, then we're able to say, okay, so this is what you do for work, or this is the next chapter of work or your career. This is what you do for your lifestyle. This is who you see yourself as. Then let's start to build that out. So that process, depending upon who I'm working with, it can look a little different. So in the discovery stage, it's really about assessments. So assessing personality, assessing their lifestyle, assessing kind of like doing like a vision casting type of exercise. So I also do that with clients. And so I take all that information and then we go back and forth and chat about, okay, so this is kind of what I'm seeing for your persona or your next level self. This is how they dress. This is how they show up. And so it's just a process of discovery, identifying who they want to be, identifying what their strengths are, identifying how to really tell the story of who they are. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
so sometimes people have a little bit of a trepidation, I've seen, in vision casting. I love that term, by the way. They have an idea of what they'd like to, but sometimes they have a hard time crossing the bridge of vocalizing that. Like almost like they don't believe it's real for themselves. So do you think there's like an exercise that people can do, or how does someone get over that bridge where, I've met a lot of people that, and they could be successful people, by the way, but they're afraid almost sometimes to put it out there, to vocalize, this is who I want to be, right? So because they don't know how to even physically commit to that, they just don't ever commit to anything, and then they stay stuck. So how does someone get over the bridge?
How does someone get over the bridge? So I honestly think it starts with taking time, quiet space,
Mhm.
and really sitting down and being in thought and tapping into your feelings as well. And really envisioning who you want to be or what the next step of your life looks like for you.
Yeah.
Um, and I think sometimes we are afraid of that, but also sometimes we don't give ourselves the time to actually sit alone, quiet, and really start to think or dream up of what we want or who we want to be, right? And that can be for many different reasons. But I think it really starts with that is being honest with yourself. Like, who do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? And writing it out, writing that vision out fully, descriptively. And once you start to do that, I think you start to experience this feeling, right? I've noticed within myself whenever I have done this exercise, and I always do this exercise just to kind of regain that feeling and get back in tune with who I am and who I'm becoming. You'll start to sense this energy, right? This feeling within yourself, like, wow, I feel energized, or I feel alive now, or awakened, even, right? So, what I would say to people is really take that quiet time, sit with yourself, take a journal, piece of paper, whatever it is, and just write out what it is that you truly see for yourself, what feels like you, what feels like the life you want to have. And be very descriptive of that. Don't be afraid. Don't worry about what other people are thinking, or what the gurus say, or what the experts say, or what your mom or your daddy or whoever says, right? It doesn't matter. This is about you. Because at the end of the day, what I think is so important for everyone to realize is that this is your life. This is your life. This is
Right.
you. You only get one shot and that's it. So, however you want to show up in this life, you owe it to yourself to be that and do that, right?
Yeah.
So, the first thing is just sitting down, getting quiet, and writing it out and being honest, and then you go into the practice of it. But
Yeah.
that's after.
It's like going to the life gym, right? It's like, I can't lift your weights for you. You have to lift your weights, right? And it's true for even a lot of these emotional exercises, these mental exercises. It's like, if you don't, you're right, it is your life. If you don't sit down and carve out the time, no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to lift those weights for you. No one's going to put the healthy food in your mouth for you. No one's going to sit down and do this journaling exercise. No one's going to create your vision for you. Welcome to being an adult. Like, it doesn't work that way, right? You just sometimes need to man up or woman up and do the work and then get to work, right? Um,
Yeah.
is there, people are afraid of failure, right? They say people don't want to fail more than they want to succeed, right? So is there a dark side to all of this stuff? Is there a way people do fail going through this process?
So I think we put too much pressure on ourselves.
Mhm.
And I get it. I totally get it. We're ambitious, we're high achievers, we're striving for better, we're driven, all the things. I think this is all good, right? Because it keeps us going forward, moving forward, right? It's all good. However, I think we allow too much pressure from outside noise to be upon us, right? We allow that pressure to really hold us back, right? So I feel like this is a part of the dark side. And so when you're listening to outside noises and then you're also putting pressure on yourself, that's never good, right? So then that can lead to burnout, that can lead to, exhaustion, that can lead to confusion, that can lead to, so many other things, right? So to me, it always comes back to, are you living the life that you want to live? And is it on your timeline? Because the thing about it is, when you're putting so much pressure on, it's got to be by this timeline, by this age, it's got to be done this particular way, I got to use this particular strategy, and I got to do it, but if you put all that on yourself, that is where the dark side, you step into the dark side, right?
That's great. I love that. That's so true. And for men, a lot of times it's keeping up with the Joneses on, income and this job and that car. And so, it could be a lot of superficial things. With women, a lot of times keeping up with the Joneses is, that I should be married by this time. I should have this many kids by this time. I should, have this kind of household by this time. I should be married, and it's true for a lot of people, but I've seen those distinctions. Um, how much does keeping up with the Joneses, right? I wanted to ask you a question about just friends and people in general and who we allow in. How much does that play into us discovering our powerhouse?
Right. So, on the journey of discovering your powerhouse, the self discovery journey, I think it's really important to be aware, right? And take inventory, right? There's a famous quote about, you are like the, what is it, the five closest people to you, right? So that's very, very much true. So you have to take inventory. Who are you letting into your space? Who are you sharing energies with? Who are you having conversations with? Who are you listening to? Who is pouring into you, right? Who are you letting into your home, into your, sacred, intimate spaces? All these things are very important, right? So when we're talking about unleashing and discovering your powerhouse, your inner powerhouse, you cannot, you can only go so far if you are not hanging around or have the right people around you.
Yeah.
So when you're really stepping into, listen, I'm stepping into this badass era. I am stepping into, I'm just unleashing myself and going all in. You really have to change. You have to become someone else. And you can't go where you're going by holding on to things and people that are not good for you and not healthy for you. So it's not easy, of course, right? But a part of that, a part of discovering and unleashing your powerhouse is recognizing that, being aware to say, I'm going there, and these things and people and places are not healthy for me. So I have to separate. Maybe, we don't talk as much, or maybe I completely disconnect from you, whatever it may be. It's different for everyone. But it's so important to feed yourself and surround yourself with the right things in order to, become all that you want to be and rise to your potential.
Yeah. There's an exercise that we do a lot, which is, if there was a pie chart, you have this little tiny sliver, and those are the things that you know. They're things that right? And it's not a very big sliver. Then you have this other sliver of things that you don't know, right? Like I know I should be eating better. Sometimes I don't know what I should be eating, but I know there's things I don't know, and I'm just trying to discover those. And what we find is there's this massive slice of the pie, which is things I didn't know I didn't even know. And that is where exponential growth, exponential gains are happening. Now, you can get to that place on your own, but you can uh, elevate and you can get there quicker by working with folks like yourself that can see things that others, yeah, you can't see for yourself in many cases, right? We don't have eyes on the back of our head. So in that realm, on that idea of the unknown unknowns, what are some unknown unknowns that you commonly see when you work with your clients? Things that you constantly, you're saying, there's this big bucket of unknown unknowns that if people just had the insight and were enlightened a little bit, they'd be able to make these massive gains in these areas. What are some of those things that you see?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that when I've had conversations with women, because I primarily work with women, um, when I have conversations with women, when I work with them, they, it's so easy to get caught up in looking at other people and
Mhm.
watching other people, that we start to lose ourselves in everything else versus paying attention to what's in front of us, what's on our plate, right?
Right.
So that's where I kind of like step in and kind of like, hold up that mirror, like, wait a second, stop looking over there, look at yourself. Wait a second. You do have this, and that, right? You don't need to go search for it elsewhere, right? And it's very interesting because a lot of the women that I work with are pretty successful at what they do, whether it's entrepreneurship or like, having a career. And so, um, you know, it's so simple. It's just these very simple things as far as, honoring yourself, having boundaries,
Mhm.
uh, you know, remaining your authentic self and not trying to be someone else because you think you need to be that or do that in order to have whatever. Um, you know, not working out of the hustle energy, because I think a lot of times we get clouded and we don't even realize we're in this hustle energy. I've realized that with my clients. um and women can be very, I mean, I think all of us can be hard on ourselves, but I think like sometimes there's moments where I see my clients just being kind of hard on themselves, and I'm like, wait a second, this
Right.
is what you probably should be doing or studying or working on. um
Do you feel there's added extra pressure on for the modern day female? It kind of feels, I feel as a man that I see sometimes more added pressure. Like when I look at, let's say, my nieces, younger women, and I see social media and I see, all these things about being accepted and, that toxicity. I feel sometimes men sometimes have the freedom of just working and nobody expects anything else from us to just like wake up in the morning and go grind. That's it, right? But with a woman, the caretaker, the mother, the wife, the this, the that, on top of being the successful entrepreneur, on top of being they call us the sandwich generation, where you're also taking care of the parents in many cases. So I feel like there's extra added pressure holding down the household. Most females control the wallet of the household. There's plenty of single females, single mothers out there. I mean, there's a whole dynamic of women out there that I think may not be true for men, right? So on top of that, then to go out there and be successful and say, what, you just go work, right? I feel like it's an unfair pressure. I mean, am I true in that assumption? Am I on or off? I don't know. I'm a guy here, so just
yeah
speaking
there's
from my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of pressure on women in modern day society. Absolutely. Especially here in America, maybe.
Mhm.
Um, we are definitely more of a fast paced culture here. Um, and, the idea of success is always put in front of us. And I think even more so with social media, especially being, someone who's ambitious. If you're seeing other business owners, entrepreneurs, and successful individuals killing it at what they
Mhm.
do, as a woman, you're kind of like, well, wait a second, how? And then you put even more pressure on yourself because you have the pressure of seeing what the expectation is, right? And then you see how what people are gravitating towards more so. Um, and then you start to, you start to measure or compare yourself, but also start to measure things too, if that makes sense, right? Which is oh, it's so toxic, it's so bad. And then it just creates this, you know, lack of confidence and self-worth and all these other things. So I agree with you. It's definitely social media definitely plays a huge role in that. And there's definitely a lot more pressure on women, especially if they're ambitious, to do everything and be everything, even with relationships nowadays. If you're successful, you can't be too successful, but then you cannot just not do anything. It's like this weird, place. It's like, well, what do you do? I can't be too successful because then I'm too much for everybody. But then I cannot not be successful because then number one, I won't be happy with myself, right? But also that doesn't look right to society, right? Because I'm not striving for more. So it's this really weird
Right.
place that women, modern day women, I think we tend to be in for sure.
I think the world needs more successful females because I believe the rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if uh, you're successful and then someone else can see you being well balanced and successful, then they say that could be me too. Because I'm an advocate of humans being successful, like male or female, I don't care. Just I want humans to be successful because I think the more successful we are, the better we can support our families and our communities and then our state and then our country and then our world and our universe, right? The whole bit. Um, so I think what you're talking about, and I think the work that you're doing is important because we have to. There needs to be brave souls that go and just pull people up. We just go pulling people up. We're just helping individuals get to higher levels. So it helps the whole entire ecosystem. So I think by creating content like this and putting out positive content in a toxic world, right? I mean, the algorithm knows what to show us, right? But I believe like we need to be out there creating it. So um, it, is there a reason beyond that that you think women should be successful, should discover their own powerhouse? Like, why is it important that women today become more powerful and more confident?
Oh, I love this question. Um, I think women deserve to unleash their powerhouse and be their authentic selves and be successful. I think for too long, we have allowed society and other people to tell us what to do, how to dress, what to think, how to be, what to say, all of this, right? But I think when you're talking about unleashing your powerhouse, it's really about who are you authentically, right? And redefining success and creating your own story, right? Writing your own story. And that is so important. And it's work that I'm very passionate about because uh, I remember when I was working my career and some people, I was working what be successful, right? In my luxury fashion retail job. And I just got to this point where I just felt like I was doing everything I was told to do. You get the job, you get the, with the benefits and all the things, and you show up to work, you smile, you do this, but don't be too happy, but don't be upset either. All these things. And I got to this point and I wasn't dreaming anymore, right? you know um and so I tell that story and I say that to say I just think it's important for women to own their power and not be afraid of it, especially when you're an honest person and you truly are here to be a light. And women, I think a lot of women, that's who we are innately, right? We're nurturers. I think when you really own that, own the empathy, the emotional side of who we are, there's power in that.
Yeah.
And that power can lead to changing other people's lives. There's a ripple effect. And when women who care about others and living in their truth and are successful, that just creates a world of that helps other people at the end of the day. The money that can go towards those people, the inspiration, the it's a trifecta for sure. So
Yeah. So the work that you're doing is important, I believe. And I believe we can only do this, one person at a time. Each one teach one, we pull each other up. Um, how do people get a hold of you? How do people work with you? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that sound like? And then, how does someone physically actually get a hold of you, like emails and contacts and all that kind of stuff?
absolutely, absolutely. So if someone is interested in working with me, they can reach out to me via email, which is info at Triplett. So info at Lala Triplett, LalaTriplett.com. You can follow me on Instagram, the Lala Triplett, as well as check out my website, www.lalatriplett.com. And as far as working with me, what that looks like, it's really there's a few different ways. So the first way is if you want to kind of get a little taste of, what it's like to work with me, to have a conversation with me, to get feedback and to have elevated conversation. Clients can book a one-off power session, so a 1 hour power session, and we just have a conversation. And I kind of help them shift their mindset, get clear on their vision, and give them fresh perspective, right? So they can work with me in that capacity. If they want to work with me as far as a long term um, program, we can do that as well. I love those. It can be 3 months, 6 months, a whole year. And it's all curated to the client. So if they want to reinvent their style, elevate their personal brand, make over their whole life, that's always fun. We can do it all. So it's definitely curated to what they desire, what they need. And yeah,
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. Well, you're a gem, and thank you for sharing your insights. And for those of you out there that are new to Lala, please follow her, like her, comment, subscribe on what she does, book a power session. You won't be sorry for it. You'll be better off for it. And Lala, thank you so much for joining.
thank you so much, Tim. I appreciate you.